say up in the right-hand corner. You know,
there we go. There we go. We are live. All right. All right. Listen, I have been waiting all day to talk to you, Racynta. Okay, listen, you and I have so much to uncover, but I just wanted to welcome you to our platform, welcome you to our studio. I'm really excited to be talking to you because you and I have so much in common, right? You and I have a lot in common. But for those that don't know who Racynta is, you will be presented to her in a few minutes, get to know her. I am your host for this evening. I am Dr. Gladys David with She Invests Realty. And this wonderful powerhouse right here is my guest tonight, but she's also my partner in crime, because when you get to hear our journey, our stories, and who we are and what we currently do in our other day jobs as coaches, I mean, we are together. We are a lot of fun. But let me introduce you to Racynta Abdullah. Okay, yes. She is known as the Coach Home Chaser. So before I get into our discussion, our content tonight, let me tell our audience a little bit about you, and this is just, listen, a smidgen. It's not even going to cover exactly who you are, but it is going to give them a snapshot as to why you have earned the moniker Coach Home Chaser, and I've earned mine too, and we're going to get into it. So let me tell y'all who this lady is. Racynta is known as the Coach Home Chaser, and she is a dynamic force in real estate. She's a mindset mastery and a wealth building education. She's a founder and qualified broker of Home Chaser Team, a multi-state real estate investment and sales network powered by eXp Realty, which she and I met there, with more than 300 homes sold and a legacy of leadership. She has a 2-time platinum winning agent, a Hall of Fame RE/MAX alumni, and a trusted mentor to agents and investors across the country. This is just a snippet of who Miss Racynta is. Let me tell you why she's earned that name. She'll share more about her journey with you. And if you're meeting me for the first time and you don't know who I am, of course, it says on the moniker, I'm Dr. Gladys David. But to Racynta, I am just Gladys. I am Coach Gladys. So I am a former attorney, 28 years practicing, 17 years in the real estate investing space, just like Racynta. I have done over 200 fixes and flips. I've done over 200 wholesales, and I am the owner and founder of She Invests Realty. And together, Racynta and I are coaches in the platform that we're going to talk about a little bit later. So let me share with you, this was Racynta's brainchild for us to get together, the Women Wealth Wednesday. I absolutely love this series. That she's a creative mind. So you'll get to know a little bit about Racynta. Racynta, welcome, 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 welcome.
I thank you, Gladys, with that great introduction. Only thing I can tell you is, look, we're here now, you guys. We want to show you more of who Gladys and I am in order to empower and create foundation, create real estate wealth. You know, seem like I'm a powerhouse, but I'm not. I'm just a connector. I'm a connector doing a vision and a purpose, and helping and serving others. And I believe in doing that each and every day. And only thing I can tell you, Gladys talks about me, but she's so phenomenal. And I told her from the beginning, like, look, girl, you got so much to offer. You know, as women, we have to pull each other out of the pit sometime. And when we overthink and self-sabotage, which is a part of our daily life sometimes, you know.
Yes,
but it takes sometimes somebody saying that perfect thing in order to say, look, it's more for you to give. And I'm here. We met through LGI, which is we're coaches with LGI, which is Legacy International Group, International. Wait, Group International. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Legacy, it's a mouthful. You know that. It's a mouthful,
right? I don't. Yeah,
we're LGI. We are both real estate coaches.
LGI, yes, go to. And you know me, I'm one of those. I just like to impact and empower, right? So it doesn't matter in real estate, in life. And when I heard what our Gladys did, I'm like, girl, why? We need to do stuff together. We need to create some wealth, because I'm in Alabama and she's in New Jersey, right?
And yet here we are together.
Yeah,
it's like there is no distance in wealth building at all.
Right.
Because we're both coaches, and we coach in and out of our states, right? We don't just coach nationally, although we know our states, you're multi-states. I'm New York, New Jersey, PA, Delaware, but we have people that we coach across multiple states, right? So that's what I love about the fact that we met at a place where we've never even been to, right?
So the thing about it, and she saw me, we basically took a liking to each other, not just her, but others. We like to be impactful and empowered. That's what I love about Legacy Group International, is the way they bring it virtual in order to help agents evolve, not just agents, but really sometimes it's building up the confidence and knowing that you can go to that extra level. And really that's why we're here, because I sold a lot of houses in the South, which is Alabama.
Right.
I had to work 10 times harder than Gladys. I mean, she's somewhere $1 million average homes in 8 homes.
No. New Jersey is a very interesting place. And I always tell people that
I know
it's linear. So we have North Jersey, Central Jersey, and we have South Jersey. So I'm currently in South Jersey. But because I've lived here for a very, very long time, I've gotten to know it well. And I happen to know I would say I know New Jersey better than even Jersey people, but I'm not even from here. I transplanted from New York, and that's going to be our segue into how I got into investments, really, because I'm really not from Jersey, but I've gotten to know well. But I would say, depending on where you're at, you're definitely right, because if we were talking Alpine, New Jersey, for example, which is at the foot of the GW Bridge, George Washington Bridge, which is right across from New York, we are talking, millions. Absolutely, you're right. Millions.
Millions. Yeah, and a lot of people now are migrating to South Jersey to get more towards I guess, out of the state.
They are. Yeah. We migrated from North Jersey to Central Jersey, then from Central Jersey to South Jersey. So I guess my next move, and I'll tell you what, I would probably. How far are you from Huntsville? Because I want to go to Huntsville.
No, I'm not far from Huntsville. Girl, I'm on like 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours from Huntsville. And what's crazy, I just left a meeting on Monday. We were sitting down talking about this. It was on like 6 of us at this meeting. It was actually an EXP meeting. It was a lunch. But Huntsville is booming. Like we're not booming here like in Huntsville,
I love Huntsville. And I had to read. I sold the house to a client. And first, we have been nurturing, because that's what we do in real estate. We nurture. Yeah. We have been nurturing each other. We were going to wine factory together. And she said, well, Gladys, I'm not sure when I'm going to sell. And interestingly enough, that client of mine was an underwriter. And so it was great working with her. I loved it. So fast forward, we are on this journey. I met her husband. He was actually working at Fort Dix, which is a military base here. Mm-hmm. He was saying, Gladys, when the time comes. So this was March, April, May. Then you know how it goes. It's 0-0. Then boom. She called me one day panicking. He got the transfer. I thought it was going to be Kentucky, but it's not Kentucky. It's going to be Huntsville. Yeah. She's originally from Huntsville, Alabama. So she says, I got my dream. She said, Gladys, you got to come and put a yard sign. I'm like, it's not that full, but I am ready for a yard sign. So I had to relocate them. And since the company was moving him, it's like we went from we'll get to. And she had this house full of everything to pack. And they moved to Huntsville. And she called me recently and said, Gladys, can I tell you how much I don't miss New Jersey? I'm like, shut up.
Because Huntsville is booming right now. And like even online, if you look at the states or the top 20 or whatever cities is still with real estate is still, going up there. Huntsville is on the map each and every time. And that's what I talked about. I was like, I'm in Montgomery. And
I like Montgomery too. I mean, I'm going to be fair. But Huntsville is where my heart is.
Yeah, but whenever I got with, I left Remax and I came a part of Legacy Group International Coach and also a part of EXP, right? Only thing I can tell you, I realized I'm ready to get out there with the sharks. I gotta go and try to increase, the price points in which my daughter live in Atlanta. She's been in Marietta for a while. Okay. It's different over there. It
really is.
600,000.
Marietta is ridiculous. I used to live in Marietta and I lived in Alpharetta when I was in my corporate life.
Oh, wow. Oh, if you would have bought back then and you still own that house in Alpharetta.
I did buy, but I didn't keep it because I was transferred. I was, that was my corporate life. I did do it, but let me just get on it too, because you and I want to welcome everyone to our edition of the Women Wealth Wednesday. This is a space that we're going to be sharing stories with you, our real estate strategies, and we're going to talk sisterhood, just like Racynta and I just started talking. And we're talking about building lasting wealth, right? Both Racynta and I are coaches, but both Racynta and I have schools. And as coaches, we're going to encourage you to, really dig into yourself and really get to understand that the journey, as I will share with you as I moderate this conversation with Racynta, the journey into real estate for me was truly an accident, but real estate investing, that's what happened. It happened without me even knowing that's what I was going to do. So I really want to set the tone that this is an opportunity for you to really think about how you can actually get started. I mean, getting started is first of all, I want to start there. It's not about money. It's a mindset. Okay. It's a
mindset. Look, I agree with you, Gladys. Like, everything is a mindset. Like, we could be right here today, but if we choose to make our next 30 days our best days, guess what? We can be wherever we choose to go and achieve that.
I come across women every day, and not just in real estate in a residential space, but I come across women every day that say, how did you do it? I said, you know what? If I had thought about how I would do it, I probably would have gotten started. I got started by pure accident. So definitely, as I shared with you, both Racynta and I, we've been in this space together. We have double-digit experience, not just in real estate, but also real estate investing. We are trainers, teachers, and coaches in this business. But I want to be able to share with them a little bit more about what we talk about our first investments, right, Racynta? So that's really where it starts for a lot of people. And I definitely want to hear your journey. What was your very first investment?
Well, I just tell you, my journey came out of pain, right? And I can only tell you that 2008, I always been an entrepreneur, 23 years, right? 23 years entrepreneur. I was a used car dealer. Can you believe that? I sold cars. So I did numbers all day. I was the one to go to the auction. I looked up under the hood. I did everything. I did it, and the only thing I could tell you in '08, I had all my eggs in one basket. Didn't know I had my first home that I bought when I was 23. But then I decided, the rates, everybody's buying this home. It was during that crisis of 2006, 2007 era, right?
Those were great years for me, but go ahead.
Yeah, you was doing real estate. But see, me, I was one of those people that got that arm. So I got that arm on the second home that I purchased. And '08, you know what happened? Gas went up $5. All these different domino, car industry went down. Yep. All my eggs in the car industry. Well, I had to go and regroup. I moved back to my first home, which was still a great home. It was a 5-bedroom home. I was only 28, 29. So I felt like, you know what, God, if you got to take me here, I'm going to trust the process, right?
Trust the process.
I'm going to trust this process, and I'm going to walk the walk. So I was one of those people. I went back to my first home, left that home with the arm because my payment went up like 15% interest. It was crazy. So I had to file Chapter 7, and I walked away, and I went back to my first homestead home and liabilities that I had at the car lot because the car lot wasn't making it. Well, I wrote a vision that in 10 years, this is where I want to be at. And what I choose to do was go back and rebuild the car lot, which I rebuilt the car lot, created other entities. I even started a cleaning service because everybody was talking about green cleaning back then in 2000.
Oh my goodness, you and I have way too much in common. Way too much. We are serialpreneurs.
What I did the green cleaning, and then I wound up saying, you know what? I'm just going to go and start investing. So what I would do is car tax time, car season is always great, right? We make all this money. So I was one of them car girls that I love cars. Cars was paid for because I get them from the auction. They're easy to sell. I know the numbers. Right. So I met my, this Haitian realtor. He's Haitian. The reason why I say that, he said, look, somebody told me about you, but you need to stop buying all these cars. You need to invest in real estate. Because market is like, really it's time to buy. So my third cousin told me about Calix. So Calix wound up talking me into buying rental properties. And I'm like, wow, 30,000, 40,000 for these rental properties.
Oh my
So
God, how sweet is that number? 30,000.
look, I still own them, girl, and they're up to like 180, one. And see, the craziest thing about real estate, if I would have bought more then, I still was that car girl. I'm still dipping, dabbling, and still trying to go back and buy and ride this car. But I love cars, and it was easy for me to make that money with cars. And really, Calix is the one that got me in real estate. He told me after 4 years, he said, look, I'm going to factor out of real estate because I'm burnt out. He had his goal was to have 10 rentals. He wound up getting 25 rentals. He left Alpha within 5 years. And he said, look, you need to get your license. So out of that, I got my license and the rest is history. And then believe it or not, I went to be I was the top agent at the first place that I worked at. And I was like, golly, if I'm here 18 months and I'm top agent, I need to go somewhere and test the waters some more.
You're satisfied being at the top. You got to find out where the roof is.
Water. So I went and tested the water at Remax, where all the agents there was doing 6 figures, which I felt like was doable with me because I was doing that in the car industry. I like to test the waters, and my mentor told me, look, you can do it, and he was just a car guy. He was a car guy. He said that was the number one thing. He invested in real estate, but the number one thing was he never became a realtor because, by being used car dealers, we got to tie up money. We got to tie up time. We got to be out there hot, cold, rain, because I was the buyer. And it was in my blood because I knew how to buy. I knew what was wrong with the car. I knew how to negotiate.
Right.
So I took that same expertise over into real estate. Only invested time. So by me investing the time, I got the return back. Yeah. And the return was great. But when I got to Remax, I did not know. This is the crazy part about it. That self-sabotage that I talk about, that I started channeling myself, my inner self, I found that out because after 3 months being there, I realized that was the brokerage that sold me that house that I walked away from in 2008. So I started questioning myself, like, God, you know what are you doing? Why am I here? Like, that was a hard time for me. Why am I here? Right. And I had to go deeper. And I'm like, look, I'm going to go into spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare led me one night at the Church of Highlands for the first time. And I hear John Maxwell teach about failing forward.
That's my favorite book, right?
Yeah, I told you that.
That's my favorite book, right? That's my favorite book.
Look, that's my book. And in today's pattern, and
pretty warm.
Yeah, talk about that.
I believe in everything he says here. When my coach told me to get this book, it changed my life.
Look, I met that man. I didn't even know who he was. I was actually selling to a medical doctor, and I texted her. She was Nigerian. I was like, look, Dr. Gloria, who is this guy? She's like, Racynta, I've been reading from John Maxwell ever since I was 13 in Nairobi or somewhere, she told me. And she was like, oh gosh. And I went and dug deeper because he talked about intentional living. Once you fell for it, you can go and live intentionally on your purpose. So I got that book and I put it in my ear each and every day for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, took it in my business. And the only thing I tell you, I went from the first year being just an executive at Remax, went to the 100 Club. By the third year, I was actually at Platinum Club. Platinum Club led to another COVID hit. And I thought, oh my gosh, now I'm going to go back and digress. I'm doing great. I'm going to go back to 08 because yeah. And I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I had to change the mindset. And that's when I started learning more about self-sabotage, things that hold us back, the mindset. And like what we just got through talking about, we're only a step away from where we need to be at if we just choose to do the action.
Absolutely. So you totally didn't even want to. So you by accident got into real estate. So you're like in the buy and hold strategy, right? To build a passive rental, long term. Which is great.
And what's crazy is I gambled. Let me tell you, that first property I bought, it was like $40,000. I still own it to this day. But my daughter that was going to college. She was actually going to Auburn. She had a partial scholarship. She was like 2 months from going to college. And she was like, well, Mom, I trust you. Just go ahead and do what you normally do. You can make it up. And I'm like, well, in the summertime, the card game is a little bit tight, babe. I don't know. I'm going to invest all of your college funds into this. But in the end, that $1,000 was her stipend to get her through college. It got her through college. It got her where she, like, I went back every other year. I didn't buy homes like every year. I always bought in, how could I say, great areas. I learned to find a good deal in multi-race areas where I know the return will be great.
Yep.
So you got to know the strategy and create the strategy. And it wasn't an overnight thing. I'm like, I'm just going to buy one here. I'm going to buy one there. Oh, and in the end, it's like, wow, I did all of this. And imagine if I was in real estate and I did it. So, and testing the waters and challenging your inner strength is very important as coaches, as investors, as women, as people in general, because if not, you stay stuck.
And complete risk takers, right?
Yeah,
that's really it. So that's an excellent story, Racynta, because it resonates with me. I too bought my first property. I wouldn't say I bought it. I accidentally bought it, right? How do you accidentally buy a property? Well, I'm in Manhattan. I'm in college. Okay.
Wow.
I'm living in Manhattan. My apartment, they called it an apartment. It was a studio. It's $1,800 a month. I had a really good job while I was in college, and New York City is a fast pace. You know, we do things very differently. So I actually went to school at night and had a full-time job. I was actually a CPA with Ernst & Young. So I was doing very well. So I was, as they say in the streets, I was balling, right? So I was doing very well.
Intern job, right?
I did. I was doing well, but here's the thing. I was still going to school because now I'm getting my MBA and my JD at the same time. So I'm thinking, this money I'm making is good, but it's really starting to tap into my pocket. So there was this newspaper called The Village Voice in Manhattan that I would get all the time in the street. And I looked in there and they said, own this house for $625 a month. Now, you don't have to be a CPA to do the math. I'm like, that's probably a dump, right? So I called the realtor and I came out on a Sunday and I said to him, this property, it says own this property for $625. How could I do that? And he said, well, I'll show it to you. And if it makes sense, the property, Racynta, was $68,000. Okay. In Jersey City, it is a 2-family home, a garden apartment on the first floor, 1 bedroom, 1 bath, living room, dining room, access to the backyard, and a duplex above it was 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom. And so I'm telling him, well, how could I own this? He said, well, you need a down payment. So being raw, not knowing real estate, I'm like, well, how much am I going to need? He was like, $3,500. I'm like, I got $3,500. I'm like, and he said, then you're going to need some closing costs. So he's walking me through how to buy a property, which is called what? First time home buyer, right? I didn't know what that was. So I went from being a student to buying a property that I don't know how I bought. Of course, today I can tell you exactly how I bought it. But I moved in, and this very same realtor, who is old school, 3rd generation, he said to me, I could rent out the top. So here's the process. I end up buying a house. So not only am I living on the first floor because I didn't feel I needed to live. So I'm a landlord, didn't know what a landlord was going to be because I didn't want to be one of those people, right? So here it is. I rented out. He's the one collecting the rent for me. So he's my property manager. All these names I didn't know, but he's doing all these things on my behalf. So he's collecting the rent. He's giving it to me. And so my mortgage was exactly $639 for a 2-family unit.
Are you serious?
It was. So I'm actually charging $800 for upstairs. So, the rule of thumb is if you can make $200 extra, that's profit, right? So I'm making $200 extra on this house per month. And so now I'm able to net that money. So I'm like, oh my God, this is great. and I'm able to walk to the train station to go to work. And so this is in Jersey City, New Jersey, and I'm working in Manhattan. I'm going back and forth. It will be years later, Racynta, years later that I figured out, oh my goodness, is that what I did? Invested in a 2-family? I didn't know I invested because he walked me through everything. I didn't know that I was a landlord because he did it for me.
Wow. So he just wanted to get rid of the property. So it was more like he was a wholesaler and you bought it and he just.
I didn't even know. So again, it's pure accident that I got into it. But then I continue on. So here it is. I went on to grad school. I stayed in New York for grad school. And I moved back to Manhattan. I'm crazy, but I rented out my place. So now I'm collecting over $1,000 a month for that property as a student and still not knowing that I'm a landlord, right? Because that's what I'm doing. He's still doing everything on my behalf and, charging me 10%. So that's called property management, right? So I didn't know any of the language, any of this, because I'm happy now because I'm ready to start practicing law. That property today, in fact, you know what? I can share with you. It is actually valued, Racynta, today. This property is valued at over, it is actually valued at $1.2 million.
Are you serious?
Let me show you.
No, you sold it. So you basically, yeah. Look, I just got through talking to my daughter about that. Real estate is something crazy because
it is amazing. Real estate is amazing, but here's the beauty of it. That was only the beginning because moving to Jersey City was like really like it was the community was gentrifying. It wasn't where people would leave. They had rats there the size of dogs at the time I moved there, but it made sense why they wanted to get rid. Now you can't get in this community for under 1.277 million.
Wow. So, that's so great. Like to even hear those stories, like that's where people start at. You start from nothing. You start by educating yourself and grabbing the knowledge because really that's what you did. You went and grabbed the knowledge.
But I owned that property for so long that you know what? It was only because of my travels with my corporate job that I just felt like, doing this is getting a bit much. But you know what? The steps that we both took. So you went the buy and hold, meaning you passively, and me, I was just living in my property and just renting it out. And that was my stepping stone and understanding that, you know what? And some of the biggest lessons that I learned from that first investment was clearly, this man taught me first time home buyer. This man taught me all the ins and outs. And by the way, for those that are concerned about the interest rates of the mortgage, my mortgage at that time, my interest rate on my property was 6.625%. While we are hemming and hawing and crying about interest rates being, back then, we were not educated by it.
And you don't marry the rate. You marry the house. You marry the process. You marry getting the long-term wealth. Because you got to go through the process to get to the piece of pie. And people don't understand how people get to where they're at. They have to go through the struggle and then they work out the kinks. And guess what? It's okay to fail the first time around.
It's totally okay. And what made it even more profitable is that I didn't know what I didn't know. So I couldn't have made a mistake. And I did it without knowledge, but I trusted that this individual who was a third generation realtor was going to walk me through it. He even brought me to the lender. He even told me how much money I had to save. He showed me every step of the way. So those are my earlier years of being educated by a very smart agent who knew how to work with newbies like myself. And I didn't even ask the right questions, right? Besides, what's a down payment? What's the closing cost? I didn't know any of that. He got me the lawyer.
Yes, you trusted your agent with the process. And the way he put the advertisement out there, he's basically telling you, look, don't worry. You're going to make that return. So a lot of times with first-time home buyers especially, I love to seek programs to try to help them.
Absolutely.
Those programs can actually help bring you wealth down the line. Like I had a client just this year. really was one of my hardest clients at Remax. The first client when I first got there the first year, it took us 8 months to close.
Wow.
Only because she was an accountant, and look, if she's listening, she was an accountant, and she was very.
And between January and April, she's not available.
Yeah, right. And so, well, the thing about it, she thanked me this year. I remember even the day before closing, believe it or not, we had to push the closing out because she didn't answer the door. She went cold turkey on closing. Her and her husband, yeah, they went cold turkey on closing. But guess what? This year they thanked me when they got like $60,000 from an investment of 6 years. Wow. And you can't get that back in 401k.
No, not today's 401k.
Not today's 401k. If you make, like, our average person makes 60,000 here, maybe in Alabama. So yeah, she thanked me, and she, at first we thought we can get more, but that's when in the beginning of the market it tanked a little bit, and so we had to go and adjust the price. But she still walked away, and she mentioned, she said, "Racynta, do you remember you had to come and get me from my house?" And I'm like, "Did I?" I was like, "I'm so used to, I'm that agent that's gonna pull up. And if we still don't work or it still don't work out, guess what? It's okay." But I didn't did my job, because my job is to show generational wealth.
Yes.
And I feel like that's my purpose, right? So a lot of things that I do, yeah, it wastes time, but I look back at the car lot days, or even at my Subway days, by being a teen mom. I worked 12 hours when I was in high school. Wow. So just for me to pull up and give 30 minutes of consultation and tell you, look, this is where I've been and this is where you can go. Right. I think it's important for people to know and hear that. And most of the time I still sell, but it's only because a lot of people fear the unknown.
Yes.
And you, real estate, you got to take the good with the bad. And even right now, like, people like, oh, if I buy this house, I'm going to be upside down. It's going to be like 08. There's no bad mortgages out here.
First of all, I wasn't even educated to know what an upside down was. So we got too much information at our fingertips. Upside down in this economy is not going to happen, because as an agent, we work with really smart lenders, and if your income can't support, your DTI, debt to income,
it's not like it was in 2006.
No.
80%, 100%, and sometimes they didn't even look at your income.
Right.
So the knowledge is a big factor on purchasing and investing in your first home, because, like, right now, stock market is maybe not doing all that great, but guess what? You still got properties popping up.
Listen, people still buying and trading stock every day. So when I work with my sellers and I tell them, listen, the reason why we're selling is because we have a plan in place, right? We put the plan in place, and you told me that you need to be in Delaware by this time of year, and so we're going to get you there. Same thing. I said, your buyer is coming, and and our business is cyclical in the residential side, right? So especially, everywhere, from the peak season is usually, April, March, where kickoff is, and then everyone kind of waits for school to end in May, June, and then everyone wants to settle by September, August, September. So it's cyclical. But if we have a time frame when we're working with people, then we are able to get them. And one of the things that I like to teach my students too, Racynta, is that they come to me for real estate investing advice. And I said to them, if you don't own your own home, that's going to be our very first investment. You heard me say that I bought my own home as a young person who didn't know what I was doing. So, and I had zero guidance other than me trusting that agent. So here you have someone that has 17, 20 plus years of experience. You can't go wrong. So your first investment will always be your first property. And we will leverage that first property. And from leveraging that first property is where wealth begins. And we can talk about so many different strategies, but the bottom line, if you don't own your first home, that is where you begin and you start to build that wealth. Okay. The
I
average
have
person
those
is saying what, 5 years in
times.
their home now, 5 to 6, 7 years. That's when you start to get a little itchy. So therefore, own it. And in that 7-year period, if you think that home is upside down now, it is not going to be upside. Listen, I moved into my property in 2019. This community was not the acclaimed community that it was. Okay. It's a beautiful community. It's considered a blue ribbon.
You have to tell me, because I already know what South Jersey doing. Like, I study the market. I look at the market all over. Like, I talk to people from California,
Yes,
Washington, Michigan. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. When you talk to them, like what you just mentioned, your community, what is it doing now?
it was a downward when I came. First of all, Racynta, as an investor, my eyes was different. I represented my husband when we moved into this community. So I was his realtor, which was a tough client.
Yeah, that was me too.
He had a checklist. He had check. And we looked at foreclosures. We can't sleep on foreclosures. This community was considered a foreclosure community.
Wow.
And when I found the property, and we had looked at quite a bit, but when I found this one, I said to him, you better meet me here today because I found your house. So
that sounds a lot like me, Gladys. I actually went to church, prayed over it. Well, my husband, we're going back to look at the house, and guess what? We was over at the new construction signing. He was like, I thought we were just looking at. I didn't know I was signing. He didn't even, he said, but you know what? I'm going to trust you all through this because because the reality of it, you got to know the market. And even I talked to my daughter, like they bought their first property. I think she got married, I think 23, 24. They got to return their own project number 2, house number 2. And the return that they got, because they purchased in Georgia by the Brave Stadium, it was crazy. And when it was like, we supposed to be going looking at homes that weekend. Next thing you know, Mom, we need to do the contract this weekend. And it was crazy in the house that they got. Like, and my mom was like, well, why are you letting them purchase that? That's so. And I'm like, look, I look at the long-term return, and the return was great. If you don't take the risk, and no, the affordability part was there. So it was
there because your DTI is there. So
yeah, the DTI was there. The solid of it
is there.
And the thing about it, I always tell people it's going to get sticky either going through the process or after you close. There's going to be some bumps and bruises in the road, right?
Absolutely. There are always going to be bumps and bruises.
But that return at the end of the day is better, like I said. Any form.
So the average home now in this community, and this is like on a low end, is they say it's on the market for $585, but it sells for about 70 to 80 above asking. So wow. The most affordable house in this community is about $700,000. And so that's what.
But that's the joy. That's what I love about real estate. Like even right now in the market, you can go and find great deals. Like you have people like we're in Alabama, but California, they are buying like crazy here.
They're coming down your way because they skipped us for a while. They went to Florida and they messed up everything in Florida.
So now they're in Alabama and they're in Georgia. But the thing about it, we have so much land here. You can always develop. Now, development, adding, flipping, all of it works. Like it works here on our market. Like I was just looking at the other day. I'm like, wow, I got a listing for $280 around the corner, but you got a $75,000 foreclosure just popped up. I don't know if somebody passed in it or what, but the $75,000, you got to think about the return on it. And I know how much the recon is. So the ability to flip that property is really wow. So that's why I want to talk about and start this Women Wealth with you, Gladys, because we got to get this information out here on our
Women Wealth is definitely amazing because what we want to tell people is that they have an opportunity to join our communities as we are really just warming things up. We talked about our first investments. We talked about the trials. And of course, it's about the mindset and how we're able to shift it. Even when you think you can't do it, you can do it, because the reason why you can do it is, you, first of all, you have guidance now. It's a whole different
guidance. And then number two thing, I realized like we got Gladys and I got these connections with lenders now, like them. They got all these great programs, right?
We do. I mean,
CRN programs.
Go into real estate now is completely not what it used to be. We did it blindly, of course, but again, when we talk about the first time person, you said you work with programs. I just had the opportunity to speak to a group here in South Jersey, in the Camden area where I sell as well. They're regentrifying that neighborhood. And I tell people, y'all better catch up, because if you don't, when I first moved here, we were able to buy houses at 18 and 20,000. Our median sales price now is 168,000. That was only 6 years ago, Racynta.
Wow. And 6 years ago?
They are totally changing the neighborhood. So I met with that community. We have a first-time home buyers program here in the Camden County area. So the Camden County area offers a $25,000 grant to help you with your down payment, closing costs towards your first home. But if you live in Camden, New Jersey, where the gentrification is happening, they have a $15,000 grant. And so we're able to list homes, sell homes, fix them up, flip them. But instead of flipping them to another investor, we are fixing them up and flipping them to first-time home buyers. So when I met with the neighborhood center, I was able to share with them that they're sitting on a gold mine, because buying something in the state of New Jersey under 250 is almost unheard of. So this is the last piece of the corner of the earth where you can still buy a property for $250,000 below.
Put it out there.
You can't buy it there. I also sell in Central New Jersey. In Central New Jersey, Racynta, $350 can't buy you a one-bedroom. It cannot. It will buy you a one-bedroom condo. So when I say you get a whole house, 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom.
Think about that in 5 years. You got to think about the return in 5 years and get the mindset around the return, because the return is going to be great.
The return is there. And so that's your first investment. 5 years from now, you hold on to that property, and catch this. We actually tell you, don't sell that property, pull the equity out of that property, get a down payment. So now maybe you have a family and you outgrowing this place. So now you can go into your second home, because your first home is never your forever home. But you take that investment and you pull it into another property. And now, you can turn the first home that you actually lived in, that now becomes your first investment property. And now you're the landlord, you're the landlady.
But see, I love it. That's the part that I love. Like, I'm be honest, I haven't sold any of my homes besides the one, my daughter, whatever. But it's because that landlord thing in the long term, and you can always sell. But the only thing I can tell you is value will stagnate, make for a year, but then it's going to go up 10, 20%, like more. Right. I just talked to a lady a few weeks ago. She basically was just getting $200,000 house. I think it was like 205. Okay. 100% program. Woo! Apartment for I don't know how many years. And guess what? She decided she didn't want to move forward. She wanted to go back to the apartment. And I'm like, we're like a week before closing. And this is
what happened? She couldn't. That's a mindset, right? So we have
mindset. And when it's like that, Gladys, you can't fight against mindset. Because if you got a program and that program is giving you a chance to gain wealth, right? Because that's what the program was doing. It was actually giving her down payment, a grant. She didn't have to pay that.
That's amazing.
Didn't have PMI. We got programs you don't have PMI. So the payment was only maybe $100 or so different from the rent. I couldn't remember. But I told her, I said, even when you go back into that apartment, you're paying $1,300 a month. That's $15,000.
And you're helping landlord, landman, everybody.
And you're not winning. Yeah, you're not winning. And she's like, well, I just still can't grasp around. They bought the house and they lived there 2 years. and they bought it for XYZ, which was I think like a $40,000 difference, and they're selling it for this. And I'm like,
what does that have to do with her?
Nothing. I said that's the part about real estate wealth.
Maybe they're moving. Look, I just told you about my client.
Yeah.
The transfer came, and it was one of the most beautiful houses I've ever seen. And they've only owned that house for 2 years. But listen, her husband was in the military. They gotta go. They gotta go.
They gotta go. And that's the whole thing about it. Like when things happen, and especially like you was 19 years old. You took a chance. Like me, like I said, I fell for it. I feel like to help others. I don't feel like I know to help others because I always sit, especially first-time home buyers down, give them consultations. I give them strategies to win. Yes. Even if you're going through credit challenges, I tell you guys, you're able, like God said, you can wash it all away. You can wash it away, but you can also recreate.
That is actually one of the beauties, Racynta, that I tell people, whatever your situation is, even as an investor, when I realized that that's what I was becoming by accident, I didn't have all the knowledge. I didn't have it, but I had enough to know where to go get it. So the coaches are your cheat sheet. We are your cheat sheet. We're your cheat sheet.
Look, I've been in every type spot. I know about real estate. I know about real estate investment. I know about trial and error. But you got to trust us. Like, you got to trust the coaches. You got to trust us to get you to that point and basically gain that foundation on wealth. Whether it's syndication, where you want to join a syndication real estate group, or you want to say, look, how do I start and investing? Because look, I am sitting on XYZ. How can I create a portfolio where I can retire in 5 to 10 years and turn around and have passive income over here for this amount? I think it's important for people to know that you can do it.
It is absolutely doable. And I mean, it's still doable here in New Jersey. So I know it's doable in Alabama because when you're talking about buying and holding, in 2019, my husband and I were looking at, I'm sure you've heard of Atlantic City, which is like,
by the beach, right?
We were looking at condos that were studio condos for $18,000. And so let's just break it down. If you are going to buy a condo, okay, first of all, it's on the boardwalk, it's on the ocean, it's profitable. You can do so many things. So I'm going to give you a quick scenario. This is a lesson for those that don't understand. I can't afford this. Well, you could, because if we just take the Starbucks money, the Dunkin' Donuts money, $100 a week, that's, $400 a month. So for $18,000, and investors can either have a down payment of 15% or 20%, right? Depending on the program. So 20%, we're looking at $3,600. Divide that by 52 weeks, right? I just said that's $69. I've asked you to save $100 a week, but I'm telling you, I'm even giving you an assignment. I say 100 because we're going to need some closing costs, right? So that's the down payment. Now we're going to need, from that $18,000, we gonna need 2% of that at least for, again, closing. So $3,600 plus $3,600. I'm asking you, I can't save that kind of. Yes, you can. I'm gonna tell you, $3,600 times 2 is actually 17. Divide by 52 weeks. If you take $100 and just put it away, we can actually build up to that down payment. Here's the beauty of it. If you bought that condo for $18,000 and you use the DSCR program.
DSCR, go ahead.
Are we going to teach or we're going to teach?
Yes. That's the part. That's the part right there.
You take the DSCR program, which is your debt service credit ratio program. They're going to take the rental average of that unit and do an appraisal on it and what it actually appraises for in the community. So if that unit rents out for, and we're talking Atlantic City, $2,800 is the minimum,
right?
Up to $3,600, or we can Airbnb that unit and make more money. However, that would be on vacation rentals, which is so different. But let's just assume you're going to rent it out for that amount of money. So you now, all you need is that money. All you need is that money. What I just said, $7,200. So you now have a unit that is income producing. So we have got to pull back, turn the wheels, and what we can really do with $100 a week.
Yeah. And see, it don't take much. And there's programs out to leverage and help. And people don't even know, like sometimes you could pull from your 401k. I know people like, oh no, don't do that.
But you can't if it's an investment property.
It's an investment property, and you won't be penalized. See, that's the part what people don't know, because right now you are some 401ks are getting penalized due to the market up and down.
But why not take it and invest it and let it grow in real estate?
Right. Why not take it and invest it into real estate? Yeah. And you're gonna get that return. I just tell you, by me being just an entrepreneur, I've made it off real estate. My kids have made it off real estate of a return. So I think really it's important to get this information out, Gladys. No,
it is. Listen, we're just dropping some small jewels here. So rapid fire. What's the one thing you know about wealth building that you wish you knew then?
Look, I wish I knew it was so many programs. Like I was one of them car girls, cash girls, felt like I had to save up to buy that foreclosure. I didn't know about Robert Kiyosaki until now, and I still haven't leveraged properties, right? I'm still a little old school with that, but the thing about it, you can leverage your properties and always pull out. Like, just a thing. What I'm trying to say, I got my daughter through college, right?
Yes.
Got one is saying next year she's going to med school. She's graduating chemical engineer.
Good for her.
I can turn around and leverage one of those properties and get her through college instead of taking out those high.
How about that? We can actually take that property and leverage it. Yeah. So we don't have to borrow student loans. And that's what it's all about. Check this out. Here's another nugget. So what I wish I knew then that I didn't know now, exactly what I just broke down to. I was the queen of designer shoes, okay? Love designer shoes and pockets.
I do. Yeah, I don't do it like that no more, but I used to. I know you're getting that.
I was the queen. And you know what? When you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki, he's my official entrance into becoming a real estate investor. Like I formally got my training by going to classes and really learning and joining the RIA clubs. I got my training. It was actually a Rich Dad Poor Dad class that drug me in there. So they said then, about if we took, some of the things that we loved that doesn't appreciate in value. Oh, I was cringing and clutching in that classroom.
That's because I was cars. Telling you, cars depreciate. So I had to see the
shoes. My shoes depreciate. My pocketbook depreciate. So I was like, oh, I hope they don't look at me. If I knew, but then here's the thing. I'm a quick study. I said, okay, I'm gonna have to go and consign these shoes because you know what? I'm not gonna get rid of them, but you know what? I'm not gonna buy as much. So that's what I realized.
Yeah,
I think that will appreciate and value. Do not devalue things that is not going to help you down the line. Yes, I got a little bit of money from consigning, but that one house, $1.227 million. Okay, that house.
Yeah,
that house. That's a stepping stone.
That's crazy because I had a similar story. Like when I just told you, we did the new construction, right? Well, I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna fast 6 months, no shopping. And when I tell you, to this day, I still do it like from January to like maybe Mother's Day. That's when I start shopping. Cut it back off. I was one of them all the time at the doors, coming to the doors, every store or anything online. But now I'm like, it's just, it don't even make
it doesn't do the same. So that's the one thing. Rapid fire. Here we go. Okay, one myth about money or investment women need to let go of.
Well, I think they need to let go of, how can I say, fear and mindset of money. That is holding on to it and thinking like the more you hold on to it, it's going to actually grow. It don't grow. It grow by investing. That's the number one thing. People don't know, like you grow by, and it's just like experiences in life, right? We go through failures. We fail, we go down.
Absolutely.
we go back up, we learn from that lesson, or we just stagnate and stay stuck.
I definitely feel that one myth that women tend to really put themselves into is the myth that they can't afford it.
Yeah. And then it takes so much money. It doesn't take money, it takes a mindset. You can actually just mention the programs, the LLC programs, the business programs where you got your LLC. You can use
I mentioned to you that I got into investing and I fixed and flipped over 200 homes. In fact, I'm up to 205.
I know.
But the first one,
what I was like, this is new to me. Like, I've just been one of those workaholics, selling, connecting, selling homes and connecting.
But that's chunks of money. But the first one, it's putting the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. So with zero experience, it was hard. No one wants to lend you money because you've never done this before, right? So I had to really put some tools. So you know what I did? My first fix and flip, I became a bird dog. A bird dog, yeah. I was going around being the shopper for investors so I can see what their buy box was. So I learned their buy box. So, and I became their shopper. And then I gave myself the position of learning how to be their project manager. I could manage the project. Then when I went back to the lender, I said, I work with Racynta on 123 Main Street, and here's what I did, and here's how I manage the project. So I am actually good for 70% after repair value. So now I had to come in with 30% because most good investors, they come in 10, 15, 20, but I'm a newbie.
They do. And you know, I just had one that I've been dealing with for about 12 months, and I'm not gonna lie. I realized it was a buy and hold. It was a buy and hold because our market is still evolving and it's growing. But at the end of the day, I love, like what you said, I became the project manager, overseeing, picking out the floor and picking out the color. Like, you couldn't tell me I wasn't on HGTV.
That's right.
But I do not regret that experience, you guys, because the reality of it grew me into understanding now the new market, the new pricing, and knowing the margin of what a buy and hold or buy and flip or whatever.
That's right.
That knowledge is irreplaceable. Like, I'm
really is, and that is a myth. That so if you it's actually a trinity. You either have time, money, and the third one is access, right? So I didn't have time, I had some money, and I got access to a real investor. So that's really what it took. So for me, I was able to position myself so that when I actually bought my first house using credit cards too. I don't advise you to do that.
The realtor that I told you about, he did that. He did that all the way down to, like, even got student loans to buy houses because they were so cheap back then. And he
really was.
He was like, look, I got to take advantage of this. Yes, I'm working Racynta, but I got to take advantage of the market.
I bought credit cards. And the thing is that, you know what? The risk, how to mitigate it. Don't be afraid of risk. You have to know how to mitigate the risk. And mitigating the risk for me was, okay, I got that. So I was able to get the money from my credit cards to buy it, but now I needed the money to fix it up. So the hard money lender at 22% interest rate, that meant nothing to me because when you're on a mission, that means nothing. I'm like, I'm going to sell this house because I'm also a licensed agent. I'm going to be able to fix it myself.
Look, then you're talking about language now. We just talked about this in the beginning. We never marry the rate, you guys. We marry the house, the process, and the profit.
House, I'm flipping it. So I bought the property, I fixed it, I flipped it, I paid my lender off. So I walked away with $30,000. Now, to some, that may not be enough skin in the game. But number one, it allowed me to get into the game. How about that? The myth of not having access was no longer there. So I completely demystified that because now I have access to lenders. This is what we're talking 17 years ago. So we don't have to do that. In the program that Racynta and I are talking about with our coaching program, we're talking about getting you lines of credits. You can now buy comfortably. We have access to so many lenders. If this lender doesn't work, so buying through our limited liability corporation. So we have so many tools and tricks that I didn't know. Rapid fire. Okay, one habit or decision that.
And I want to add something to that about the lenders, right?
Please.
I just got out of a deal, and with our coaching company, we actually have New American Funding mortgage company, right? They saved me on that deal, and Ryan actually and Lakin, they educated me, and they're like, Racynta, you need to go and look for more self-employed buyers. And I'm like, well, typically when you a lot of self-employed buyers say,
I love the self-employed program.
Yeah, I can't buy because of this. That my tax returns. Well, with this program that Gladys and I know about, guess what? We only use whatever deposit came in, especially for the truck drivers.
Yes.
The
beauty salon owners, laundromat owners.
24 months bank statement. Really 12 will get you in the door, but 24 is great. Perfect. We look at the deposits and we use the deposit to determine your affordability. And I was like, whoa, save no more. And the only thing I could tell you, they saved me on this home. And absolutely close. And I was like, so yeah, I'm ready to get more self-employed investors, get the programs out there so we can link up and do more to help serve more. So that's why we're doing these episodes.
We're doing these episodes to educate you, the buyer, the women that's saying, I can't do this. Again, we're sharing our journey. So during our rapid fire, okay, one habit or one decision to help you grow your wealth consistently. Yes.
Look, belief, faith. Belief and faith. That's all you need.
Indeed.
That's how I feel. That's how I feel. Just give me an inch of confidence. The faith level needs to be high level, and I walk it out. I talk it out, and I believe it out. The more you talk and say, look, this is what I'm going to become. This is where I'm at. This is where I see myself. Guess what? You're speaking it into existence.
And it will always be that, because the truth of the matter is that when you start to really have a belief system in what you are doing and how you are going to get there. For me, yes, the absolute changing my mindset about what I can and cannot do and what people tell me I'm capable of. I no longer subscribe to that. I no longer subscribe to what people say I can and cannot do, even when it's looking like it's impossible. I think for me, it's definitely the mindset. It's a shift in how we think. It's a shift in understanding that there is no other way for us to be able to do what we do other than the fact that our belief is very, very strong.
I agree. And I have to add something to that, because even on our journey, right? My journey of selling homes, I really didn't think, I'm like, oh yeah, I sold 40 homes this year. Oh yeah, I sold 30 homes this year. I sold 50 homes. I didn't even really know what I was selling. I just knew I had a system of a connection, right? A connection in serving others and touching others and building them up, getting the real estate wealth, right? But only thing I can tell you, if you have a strategy and your belief system and your faith system and your walk action system, it creates the momentum and it creates the confidence of you to compound interest to gain wealth.
I love it.
You just got to stay consistent. Right now, in one of my groups, it's on my thing right here. Consistency compounds. If I stay consistent, I believe in what I'm walking. I believe in where I'm going. I believe in the strategies, because if it works for others, guess what? I'm not exempt. I just got to really just declutter myself, focus, and lean towards the belief that I'm going to make
work for others. Absolutely. Yes. I am a true believer. I'm a woman of faith.
Yes.
And leaping out of my corporate job was something that
you left corporate to start real estate, because you're like, I'm working for this company and I'm doing REOs 50 whatever, how many a month. What if I did it on the other side and became the real estate agent and the attorney. I thought that was a genius move. When you told
It
me
was
that,
definitely genius. And you know what's interesting? For 17 at the time, for I had been practicing 25 years. And so for 14 of my 25 years of being an attorney, I did both. So I was actually stepping into, when I saw that my investment in real estate outgrew my corporate, I was able to say, you know what? I've hit my cap. So I did it simultaneously. I would literally get off work and go straight to the investment clubs. I would go straight to my
oh, you faked it. You faked it there too. Like you really believed in it. That's why you was going to the investment clubs. You was going
absolutely. There's no way I wouldn't do it. And I say to people, if you in the courses that we're launching, it's actually designed for you to keep your job while you do it. Because I always tell people you can do both, because it takes 10 hours a week in real estate investing in order for you to make it happen. So instead of going out and getting a part-time job, invest in yourself. And I'm going to be putting the link out there for you to join that community, because that is a place where Racynta is going to be in the community. When we have our class in September, we're starting the second week of September. She'll be teaching on strategies, and it's going to be more enclosed. It's going to be, you need to come to class with your modules. You need to come with your homework assignments. We are going to be doing a deep dive into what is it that women, and She Invests in Realty, the blueprint, as Racynta is one of your coaches. She'll be teaching on the BRRRR system, right? We're going to talk about the BRRRR.
Refinance on repeat. You know, and it's important to know the systems. Like I mentioned, I think this is a good thing that we're doing to put out, not just for women, it's for everyone. We want
we're focusing on women because we know that, you know what, when I first got started with something, there was nobody that looked like me and you.
And then nobody wanted to tell you, right? So I always mention Calix Vimax because I say his whole name because he taught me everything I knew, and he believed in me because he saw how I was moving with the cars. And he's like, wow, if you can do this with these cars and you're investing your money, how about I come over here and invest your time? And I look back at it and I'm like, down to me lining up, being at the real estate office that sold me. They was on the seller side of that home that I foreclosed. I'm like, God has ordained this process. It's time for me to just keep faking it out. I really didn't know how hard I worked until I joined the coaching group with LGI. And they're like, oh, you did what? And I'm like, that's not a lot. And I go back and look, oh, whoa, how did I?
Because you weren't even a team, you were a single agent.
I was a single agent. And I was
a single agent.
Yeah.
I never did.
I was like, what? So she was a single agent. I was a single agent. And it's so many properties from here, New Jersey, wherever. Doesn't matter what market you're in. We can create the strategies and show you the way to pay real estate wealth. That's what we're here for.
We are here for it. Racynta, you have been, of course, the ultimate guest. You and I can go on and talk real estate all day because that's what we do. But that's what we do. We live and breathe it. I mean, we are coming up on our time here, but I just wanted to say it has been my plum-pleasing pleasure to have you as my guest on this Wednesday. Join us next week for Women Wealth Wednesday as we bring you a new topic. So pre-register now so that you will be in the room with us. We are going to be bringing you more hot topics, more Racynta, more Gladys, and I know that we are going to completely engage you, and so you can learn and grow and make some informed decision. And do not use a limiting belief that you can't afford it. Do not say that you can't afford to do this, because the reason why you can't afford to do it is because you're talking yourself out of it.
Talking and self-sabotaging yourself out of it. And I have to tell myself sometimes, you guys, I'm going to tell you, get out of my way, old self. Like, no, you don't live here anymore. I have to sit there and tell myself and stand in the mirror like, you don't live here anymore. I'm not the victim, okay?
You're not welcome.
I'm the successor. I'm ready to move forward to this abundance. And I want you guys to go with us too. So
we want you to join us in this abundance journey. It is Racynta, the coach, home chaser, and Dr. Gladys, She Invests Realty, the ultimate real estate problem solver. We are checking out, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much. Have a great evening, Racynta.
All right. Thank you, Gladys.
You're
Bye bye.
most welcome. Bye bye.